Welcome back to Race Control. It's day 5 of leg 7. The fleet out at sea are just ending the ice skates, but with us on land, we have 2 very special guests, Mike Sanderson, previous race-winning skipper and 2-time Volvo veteran and current Olympic competitor, Katie Pettibone. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Moose, we'll start right off with you. Let's talk about the front. It's basically now almost Ian Walker's race to lose. He has a 6-point lead. There's only 3 legs left. You know what that feeling is like. What thoughts are going through his head now?
Yes, it is a tough time. I mean, for sure, Ian won't have that going through his head, though. I mean, he's just got to keep doing what they've been doing. He's got to just take it a leg at a time. He'll be, Ian's won many regattas and over his career, and so he'll just have that little bird sitting on his shoulder, keeping an eye on what they're doing. But he can't get too obsessed about winning the Volvo Ocean race. He's just got to think of it as another regatta. Think of it as him coming into the last third of the regatta with a points lead. But there's still too many points on the table to really start thinking about an overall victory. He's just got to keep sailing smart and sailing fast.
Okay, but Katie, if you were Dongfang race team, there are only 6 points between you and the lead. They're coming up towards the Azores High, and the fleet could either go through the middle or around it. If you're Charles Caudrelier, do you think you're ready to roll the dice and try to gain that 6 points, or is it too close with the fleet behind and too sketchy?
I think if I were them, I would roll the dice and go north. Maybe play a little bit risky as far as going where they think the wind's going to be. You have to protect your back, but they've got everything to gain right now. So I'd expect them to be a little bit more out there on where they're going.
In the final ocean leg here, Moose, it's essentially the final ocean leg. It is the last point. We could see splits before we have 2 very short coastal legs. Does that change how they sail this leg in any way, shape, or form?
No, I don't think any of them, will do it differently. I mean, they've sailed all the way around the world with in this style, very tightly packed, not looking to not lose rather than looking to gain, and and then they just all sprinted out in the last couple of 100 miles. So I'm pretty sure none of them are going to, do anything too crazy. They'll each back themselves at what they're good at and how they've done it to date. So I think if something was, really obvious in a direction to go, then they'll go there, but so will they all. So, yeah, as far as a split goes, I don't think you're going to see anything too exciting, but hopefully I'm wrong. A split would be fun for those of us to watch from the shore.
Yeah, we all like a split. Okay, Katie, so coming up to the final sprint legs, you guys on Amer Sports too, you struggled a bit in the ocean legs, but then were able to win the final sprint leg into Gothenburg. A bit like SCA, they're the only team that has 2 import wins right now. What is it that maybe makes girls at this point better or even in inshore racing than they are able to be in offshore?
I think SCA is building their experience as they go, and similar to Amer Sports, we were getting better and better throughout the race. Of course, Amer Sports, we only really put the team together 2 months before, but it's a long process. It's a team building process. I expect them to do really well in the next legs. I think they have tremendous inshore talent. Sally Barnhook calling tactics is a phenomenal match racer, Olympic sailor. So I think that shows in the imports. So I think they're getting better and better. They're playing closer and closer with the fleet. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do in the next couple legs.
Moose, there's been some debate about the team in the media recently as a previous race-winning skipper, but also as the husband of an accomplished female offshore racer and a father of children. What do you think about the performance of Team SCA?
I think, I'm just a huge fan of anyone that's trying as hard and put as much effort into the Volvo Ocean Race as Team SCA has. And, I guess what rattled my chain, so to speak, was a couple of articles which spoke about it being damaging for women's sailing, what's happened with SCA, and I just, totally disagree with that. I think what's damaging is people who write articles and that are negative, and the sponsors have to read that, and the families of the girls out there have to read it, and the girls themselves, when they get to port, are going to read that. And here are people that have given years of their lives, blood, sweat, and tears, to do the very best job they can in the Volvo Ocean Race. And there's people saying it's damaging, and I do have a problem with that. That's not going to help anyone. What we need, and what the girls need, and I'm sure Katie's not going to disagree with me here, is continuity. And now imagine how wonderful it would be for women's offshore sailing if FCA could continue, have more experienced people coming back into it, have more young people coming back into it, have the Katie Pettibones of this world now being able to come back and sail with them. It's just continuity. That's the reason the girls are getting better and better in the race is just their experience is building throughout the event, as opposed to being out, have had more race time together before the start and things. So I just can only look at it with a glass half full attitude. I think I think people would be surprised how tough it is out there and how great a job they're doing. You drop 8 people in there who would back themselves into the middle of a Volvo Ocean Race leg, and I think they'd be surprised how far they are behind. I know they'd be a long way behind the girls, so I think more credit needs to be given to how they're going.
Yeah, and Jenny, I'd like to jump on that, actually. There's a couple things. I completely agree with Moose on the fact that people saying to set us back, that's not fair, because you have to get out there and be in the conditions and train to get better, and we need more people doing it. So the fact that SCA chose to back a women's team is tremendous, and I think that's just huge. And so hopefully this will go forward and we'll see more people in it. I would say, though, that they're competitors, and you take gender out of the equation, nobody's going to be happy with being at the back of the fleet. They did have the boat the longest before, and they had the most training. So to some extent, I think criticism is okay, just as a competitor. You wouldn't say LeBron, you're just happy to be on the court. So I want to see healthy discourse about, like, okay, where's the performance failings, and like what can be done on that issue. But to say that the team has set us back is just not fair, and totally misses the point that we need people out there doing it. I mean, I was reading, this is Katie's 7th race. I mean, we need that kind of continuity, as Moose said, in this race for the women. And frankly, Dawn Riley and I still would love to see that translate into a mixed team, which we did in the America's Cup and saw that it worked very well.
Okay, so let's now do a quick run around the fleet. You've just brought up the experience of KP, and we know that experience is a huge deal in Volvo Ocean Race sailing, but I think Team Brunel, with both Bauer and KP, this is their 7th race, were definitely one of the forerunners beforehand, and they're still in 3rd, they're still podium position, but why do you think they haven't been able to be quite as competitive as Ian Walker in Abu Dhabi or Dongfang? Moose?
That's a tough question. I mean, both KP and Bauer have had fairly colourful and adventurous Volvo career, and have done have been involved in some wonderful campaigns. KP was obviously really unlucky not to win the 93-94 Whitbread 60 Trophy on Tokyo, and given they were dominant through the whole race, and then dropped their rig in the leg up to Brazil. So it's been a tough. They've both had tough roads. Obviously, Bauer with Movistar having to step off their troubles last time. The last time he did the race with Telefonica Blue. It's very hard to answer your question. To be honest, I think you've got to just look at the whole crew makeup and the whole in my opinion, if you look back at who's on board, the experience, how many drivers, how many trimmers, there probably has never been too many great upsets in the Whitbread Race, Volvo Ocean Race history. It's just people, experience, preparation, budget, and I think Abu Dhabi, from preparation and budget, and the ability to go below the depths of KP and Bow's level. I think if you then take Ian and Sci-Fi, I think Abu Dhabi's very strong in the next tier of trimmers and drivers, and probably more so than Brunel is, and that's the recipe. We've all known what the recipe is for a long time, but that'd be how I'd see it.
Okay, let's move to Motfre, Katie. You race against Iker in the Olympic sailing that you're doing now, and he's been stepping off the boat to do some Olympic sailing and stepping back on. The team says he's fresh every time he comes back, and obviously this time they won the import race in Newport and the beginning of the leg start. But do you think maybe it's a distraction as well, the leaving and rejoining of a team like that?
Having done 2 of these, I have to admit I would think it would be a distraction. I think the fresh part is probably true. You're rested, but on the other hand, although sailing is sailing and the competition is competition, to get your head around sailing a semi-foiling 17-foot catamaran versus one of these out in the ocean are very different things. And these boats are one design now, so I would think those incremental changes in gear shifting and what the competition is doing, it matters. And so to jump on and off and be in and out, I think would be difficult.
Yeah. Okay, final 2 teams. Moose, Team Avimedica, you know Charlie and Mark from when you were coaching them on Morning Light. They're now in the Suavo. Yep. What would you want them to do going forward? I mean, a bit like SCA, would you like to see them just continue with this exact team rolling into the next Volvo, or in between the two, for them to get the most experience between now and possibly podium next time? What would you say to Charlie?
Oh, I think I think that they've done a wonderful job. Charlie and Mark, they've always come across well in their interviews. They've done well with looking after their sponsor. I've seen them in 2 of the stopovers. They've put on a great show, and that's what they needed to do. Like SCA, they just it was their first time into the Southern Ocean for many of their guys. I mean, it was always going to be tough for them to beat the likes of Abu Dhabi, but they led around the Horn, so they've had some incredible victories along the way, if you like, and podium finishes and import races and bits and pieces. So no, they've just got to keep their foot on the throttle, and do everything they can to not necessarily just keep this team alive and going, but to keep some continuity with their sailing program and looking forward to the next race. So yeah, exciting times for them. I think they've done a great job, and they just need to keep the heat on.
Okay. All right, so final team, Katie, talking about being fresh. Team Vestas Winds boat is coming out of the shed today, getting onto a container essentially and getting shipped to Lisbon. Do you think they will be able to step in fresh and be as competitive as the teams that are now on their final legs around the world?
I think it's going to be actually exciting for the whole fleet to have them join. I think they're going to bring their energy to everybody. And, obviously it's going to be tough to jump in and be immediately at the same level of the folks who've been sailing these one design boats. However, you've got tremendous talent on that team. Chris Nicholson is phenomenal skipper and sailor. I think they'll be in the mix immediately, and I can't wait to see them. It's just a great comeback for them.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It was excellent to have you both.
Thank you.
Bye. See you, Jenny.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
And thank you guys for joining us as well. The teams are now skirting the ice limits. Tomorrow they'll hit the Azores High, so we'll be able to see whether they go through or around. We'll let you know more on Monday's Inside Track. And for now, the ETA for the arrivals is Wednesday. Should be an exciting close finish. See you Monday.